when you pull on that jersey, you represent yourself and your teammates. And a name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. Get that through your head.
And here we go.
And it is no good. He missed it. Are you kidding me? The season can't end like that.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Some goofball in a hat and a red shirt. Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms. Bare-chested. Somebody stop that man.
Nobody ever tells me anything, so I'm going to try and tell you all what I know about the SFL after Week 4. Good evening. Welcome to another week of NETMA. First show of the week after Week 4. What a great game. What a great game is probably an understatement. What a great week we've had so far here in the SFL. Week 4, only 8 games to go through today. But holy cow, what a week. It started off solid with Queen City and Fort Worth and ends fantastically with a couple other games, including Denver and Tulsa. Like, teams that, right around mid-tables, some, hover around the bottom of the league at the moment. Games that we didn't expect to be, too terribly close were extremely close and provided us with some excellent entertainment, while 8 of the teams took a week off. 8 more go on the bye week this weekend, and, well, we're going to have some more fun this weekend. So let's just go right into what happened this weekend and get everybody caught up on all 8 games. So we'll start off in game number 1. Queen City defeats Fort Worth 26-22. Fort Worth fans, how you feeling? That was a collapse. I'm calling it a collapse because Queen City went into a completely different gear at the end of that football game. Fourth quarter, Queen City looked like a completely different team. They started slinging the rock down the field with authority, and the defense and special teams just playing out of their shoes. If you're Fort Worth, you're looking at that football game and said, we were doing everything right. We did everything we needed to do up until the fourth quarter. Just didn't finish it. You gotta finish. First, you have to finish. Good quote from Michael Schumacher. But what a ball game. What a dramatic conclusion. Go check out that football game if you haven't seen it yet over on SFL's YouTube channel. What a great game. Queen City with the victory. They go back to 500. Fort Worth are, they're still to get out of their pen. The Toros. Maybe they turn things around in the upcoming weeks. All right, moving on. DC defeats Mexico City 45-23, and they are legit. DC coming into Mexico City, always a tough contest, or so it would seem. The Dragons, it's their season. It's their season. They're going to the playoffs at this point. They have convinced me enough that the preseason hype behind the Dragons is not just hype, but it's legit what's happening. It's happening. The Dragons are on fire. Please don't be the next Queen City Corsairs. Please don't go 6-0 and then all of a sudden just fall apart in the second half. That would be embarrassing. But knowing DC, knowing how they operate over the last couple seasons, I think DC is in a good good spot. I think DC may just be a playoff contender, not just this season anymore, but for for seasons in the future. Good for DC. They're off to a flying start, 4-0, taking down the Aztecs in convincing fashion, might I add. So Kevin Say over 200 yards and a hat trick of touchdowns for a second straight week in the SFL. What more can you ask for? The Dragons are absolutely nuts. All right, moving on to Los Angeles, and it was over in the first half. Florida didn't need to score a single point after the Hail Mary touchdown for E.J. Minson. They let Los Angeles have a little bit of fun, come back in that football game, with a touchdown. But, Florida. Both teams gave the ball away 8 times. I don't know what else to say. Like, the game was over. Like, all the interceptions took place in the second half. All the mistakes took place in the second half. It's like both teams tried to do too much. Florida tried to maybe try and air it out a little bit more. Los Angeles would give it right back, and it was just back and forth the entire later stage of that football game. It was weird, messy, sloppy. Something that we're accustomed to seeing for Los Angeles, maybe not Florida. So let's just say Florida 3-1. Los Angeles is not doing too hot at the moment. Okay, moving on. Final game of Saturday. This was Charleston and Vancouver, and I think Vancouver needs a little bit of R&R. And I'm not talking just about rest and relaxation. I'm talking about Robert Redford. Of course, he went down in that first quarter of that football game. Only got 2 carries before he got injured on a freaky play. It looked like he was trying to maybe stick out his arm for a stiff arm, and then just didn't pull it in time, and got injured. It's tough to see. They played valiantly and nearly took that football game against Charleston, but the defense held firm when it was just a one-dimensional attack. And it just goes to show, in some cases, you do need a 2-back system just to have a proper back to maintain your game plan. And I think a lot more and more of these teams, seeing what Fort Worth and Louisiana are doing, and they're gonna go and they're gonna say, we need to have not just a full back, not just one halfback, but we need to flesh out our entire roster. And as the league continues to expand and grow, we're gonna see a lot more depth chart. We're going to see Mexico City already has an entire roster of wide receivers. We might just see every single big position filled up on every single roster. I'm not talking just running backs, halfbacks. I'm talking wide receivers, tight ends. A 3 tight end set would be filled by all contract players. That's, again, in the future, maybe something that'll happen. All right. But Vancouver played valiantly. Charleston came away with the victory in a very tight ball game. Like, we had a lot of good, lot of tight contests in Charleston. Who knows? They'll take the win. They'll take any win how they can get them. And for Vancouver, just unlucky. Lucky this week. This is, again, not a full strength team when you're playing for 3 quarters without Robert Redford. Okay. Sunday slate of games. Evasive action for Portland, I think. They fall to the Skyhawks 31-21. And it's Portland is confusing. Portland is very confusing. They have a great setup. Fantastic setup in Portland. The ownership's great. Jacob's fantastic. The GM is great. Nelson Lozano Jr., fantastic guy. Portland looks completely different without Art Vanderlei in a coach. It's been said multiple times. It's been talked about. We're done with that. We're done talking about Art Vanderlei. This is a Portland team that needs to figure out their identity and quick. Otherwise, kind of like how you see in all those World War II Pacific War tapes where the carrier or the ship is just circling, trying to avoid dive bombers and everything. Portland looks to be just in a continuous evasive action, trying to evade anything. And Carolina taking advantage and coming out with that victory. Carolina, they're a solid team. The offense looks solid. Portland, you can't even really blame. I don't think you can even really blame OJ Bruin. they were just completely stifled in that second half. They were right with Carolina, leading Carolina, in fact, midway part of the third quarter. Just no points in the second half. I almost wanted to say it, maybe just half a ship for Portland, but I think that's too harsh. Because the Carolina defense forced Portland to go on twice as many third down attempts than the Carolina Skyhawks themselves had to go on. Defense played out of its mind for Carolina. Portland, just not there. Just not there, I don't think. Maybe next week against the Plains over in San Diego, maybe they'll have some more luck. We'll have to see. But Portland needs some help. Moving on, game number 6, Tulsa and Denver. This one team had to lose. A great ball game. Denver was always in this football game. Tulsa played great. If Queen City and Fort Worth were the crazy game, this game was the most tense from start to finish because it had a lot of scoring. It had a lot of offense. Defense, every so often made a play, but it was just a showcase of what these two offenses can do. 3 total turnovers for both clubs. 3 apiece, I should say. But the offense was there. But I think a more balanced attack is what led to Tulsa's victory. Again, only 44 rushing yards for O'Shaughnessy against the Desperados. So maybe a more balanced attack is what Denver needs. Maybe that's what they try to do. But all credit Tulsa for stifling O'Shaughnessy. Only 16 carries for O'Shaughnessy. Only about a 2.8 average. That's probably where they went to the passing game a whole lot, often more than they maybe wanted to. But Denver lose after not converting on a 2-point conversion where Philadelphia Collins comes up with a huge stop. Philadelphia Collins, the new hero over in Tulsa. Just a great game. Just another great game this past weekend. Okay. Number 7, and it's new and improved for Sioux Falls offense. A lot of passing from Sioux Falls. Not something we're too accustomed to. The last couple of weeks, Sioux Falls been airing out a little bit more here and there. Las Vegas, they're stingy, just not all that this past week. Really liked on the call for this game, of course, but really liked how come on, where we go? I really liked how the passing attack was more so opening up room for GP Wells to make some space. I think that was the key, is maybe not relying on one guy to make every single play happen. They still had a bunch of fullback runs. 5 fullback runs. Cornelius gets touchdown number 1 of his career on the ground. GP Wells got a touchdown. 71 yards for GP Wells, and Tyree was efficient. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but did throw for close to 350 yards. Good solid completion percentage as well, 71% as well. So it's gotta be, I think, Julian Tyree is now being asked to open up areas of the playbook that weren't previously worked on by Sioux Falls, and it's catching a lot of teams off guard. That to include Sioux Falls. I don't know why it went back. My apologies, but yeah, new and improved look offense for Sioux Falls gets them to, I think, 2-2 at this point, right? They're 2-2. Yeah, I think so. I know they lost close to Denver in week 3. Give me a second. I had it here. Where'd it go? There's my record. Yeah, Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls 2-2. Yeah, they beat St. Louis in week 2. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. They are 2-2. So they play Tulsa next week, which will be another tough test, and we'll see what happens. They got 2 games before their bye week. Sioux Falls does. Las Vegas, they get to hibernate a little bit before they come out and play Louisiana. So we'll see what happens for both these ball clubs. But Sioux Falls, new and improved. I'm liking it. I'm liking this passing attack. All right, final game, and it was surprisingly comfortable for Louisiana. Compared to what was happening last week, a lot of interceptions for Tommy Utah. It was a very different feeling ball game. Not a something we typically see against an Arizona defense. They weren't able to force a single turnover from Tommy Utah. It was very consistent. Not something, of course, last couple of games we'd seen from the Revolution offense, but we'll take it. The Revs will take it, and for Arizona, this is quite shocking. We expected a lot of a closer game, and that's nothing to say that Arizona wasn't planning for it, because we all know Eddie Gage. He puts his heart, body, and soul into each and every game plan, but I don't know. It didn't seem to me that I think the defense was all right for Arizona. I think that the offense was completely fooled by the defensive coverages. I'm trying to give Eddie some help here, guys. Sorry. But my help is probably null and void to the most of the SFL at this point. But c'est la vie. All right, so Revolution come out with a victory. They go back to 500. Arizona, 1-3? That's weird. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode, and hopefully you guys will check back in tomorrow afternoon, same time, same place, right here on the NETMA server, NETMA YouTube channel. Get it right now. Just a quick look before we go. My record and the SFL community's record, left and right, somewhere up there. SFL community back at 500 on Who You Got. I move ahead a couple of games above 500 with 6 correct picks, and my best bet success is 3-1. So maybe I do know something about this. All right. We'll talk to you guys later. See you tomorrow. And until then, everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.